Being like a character that's on all fours all the time.
A Demogorgon.
Yeah, well, they can walk on two legs.
Half four, half
It's the
two.
Demodogs that can't walk.
No, I said Demogorgon, right?
Yeah,
but
but the Demogorgon can walk
go
on
back
two.
and forth, right?
I mean, they don't usually. They usually just walk.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And it's the Demodogs that. This is a ridiculous tangent. I don't know why we're. I'm Kyle Clark. I'm playing Posthumus and Cymbeline, Edgar and King Lear, and I'm also the fight director.
Caleb Clark, I'm playing Edmund and King Lear, and Cloten in Cymbeline, as well as I think a Roman, a soldier in Cymbeline.
For me, with first rehearsals, I have to have some kind of idea of what the arc is for the character. I need to know where the highs and lows are. I need to know the relationships that he has with everybody else in the show. Most of my prep is either with like rhetorical devices within, especially within Shakespeare's texts, like I'm looking at rhetorical devices, what's antitheses, and other kind of linguistical things that I can bring out in the read-through that'll help me kind of figure out what's all the colors that I can play with. How much can I throw at the wall that is strictly out of relationships, voice work, and rhetorical devices within the text. But I have to know, what's going on. Otherwise I'm just lost and I sound like garbage.
I like to be as prepared as possible with the text that I'm going to be delivering, but I like to let myself be a little bit ignorant of other people's text. Because inevitably every time you get in the first rehearsal, even if you're really familiar with the play shifts when you hear it in the voices of the cast that you're working with. So yeah, I think I'm as prepared with as you can be with the lines that you have, but also like open to be surprised is something that I try to do.
No.
Yes.
No. We did a lot of outdoor stuff with the Arkansas Shakespeare Festival, like back in like 2019. So those spaces, some of them were like the size of a Miller, with the audience going back like that far from what I've heard. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a show that has like that many people that can actually come see it. So it'd probably be the biggest one for me.
Yeah, it's a very large audience.
Yeah.
You actually get to see the sky, and you get to see like the tops of buildings. And there's, it's been a while since I performed there, but if I remember correctly, there's some cool like building tops that you can see on the horizon, and there's like some trees and stuff. Doing Shakespeare outside to an open sky is always a thing. I think every time I've done it, whether it's like a huge space or a small space, it just evokes like gods in a different way for me. So it's kind of fun as opposed to like looking up and seeing the top of a theater. There's something natural about it, and like nature centric, and this play is all about nature, so that's interesting. I mean, masks for one.
Damn masks.
Yeah.
The darn masks.
Masks for one. I don't know, it doesn't even seem weird for me anymore. I've done like 4 productions where we've had to mask and we've had to do testing every week, so like it's become part of the normalcy, which is also odd. It's strange. It's strange acting with masks on. It just,
Yeah.
like when we did Christmas Carol, the last Christmas Carol I did, we had to wear masks up until we did the dress previews. I remember the first time we all took our masks off, half the cast just started crying because it was something about like seeing people for the first time.
The last show I did, we had the same thing, because we couldn't take our masks off until tech weekend. They didn't think I was smiling at all throughout the entire show. So like everyone thought it was like Kyle's playing it like really dramatic and dark, and then we took off the mask and did like the first like run through with tech, and I'm smiling the whole time, and then they were like, "Wow!" So the whole they shifted the entire show over the tech weekend, because they're like, no, it's not nearly as we can't have this music and these light cues anymore. Redo the entire show just because I had a mask on, and I was like, oh, he's not angry.
Yeah,
he's smiling and enjoying stuff. Okay.
One of the tough parts is moving from 208 to Miller, because the spaces are so different. You can't really visualize it, I don't think, until you get back out there. So just trying to keep in mind the amount of space that you're gonna have to fill and the scope that you're gonna have to play to while in that small room to prepare for the bigger transition, I think is just a thing. I think it can be tough.
Being like a character that's on all fours all the time, and not being able to stand up like a normal person.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, it's like Gollum in Lord of the Rings or whatever. And it's like, okay, so how do I maneuver this in a way where I can still keep my chest up and my head up while I'm on the ground? Because I know what's going to happen once we get on the rake and how far back that audience is. I mean, my back's going to hurt. I have to like push myself up and get that chest up so like people aren't just like staring at the top of my head. That's, I think, like for me, the biggest thing right now is how do I maneuver this like golem-like creature in a way that is upright enough but still on all fours, so it's animalistic, but is shown enough to the audience so that we can go through that together.
The Demogorgon.
Yeah, well, they can walk on 2 legs.
Half four, half
it's the
two.
Demodogs that can't walk on. That have to get your.
Yeah. No, I said Demogorgon, right?
Yeah,
That was
the
right.
The Demogorgon can
They
walk
can go
on
back
2.
and forth, right?
I mean, they don't usually. They usually just walk.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And it's the Demodogs that. This is a ridiculous name. I don't know why we're talking. Yeah, it's a demo. I'm doing the Demodog thing. Demodog thing.
The Demodog thing. Working with Kyle is sort of like working with myself, but
I had no idea where you were going.
it's
Finish
work,
that
it's like
sentence.
working with somebody who's
What?
very similar to you in a foundation, but also completely different from you in the way that they do things and their own point of views. Also, I was an actor first, so like, it's maybe been like, when did you start your acting training? How long ago?
Like 6 years.
6 years ago. The last I knew, you were a playwright. So like, and that you were interested in acting or interested in theater to some degree. So to come back to Houston and to see him as a full-fledged artist in that way. So to return to the school that I trained at, where I kind of, learned the ropes a little bit, and to see him running shit, running the room, running.
Yeah, and I didn't have that because I watched you do all your stuff.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
followed you throughout
You
your
visited
whole
and you
thing.
saw and you-
I saw I saw the
ASC.
community theater. I saw ASC, and I saw you at Flint. I saw you at shows here. Being brothers, so doing brothers in the show is just super easy.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing
Oh, yeah.
else that really needs to be filled. I guess I'm not like looking for like, okay, what's the backstory? It's like I already got one. It's fine. Like I've known him for that long.
Yeah, whatever backstory we choose, we have something to fill it.
Yeah, I mean, so
We've been
yeah.
in that relationship at some point in our 20 to 30 years of life.
Yeah. So so making those connections is very. I've had years and years to watch how you work, so I know what you do, and I've seen you do so many different styles that at that point it kind of doesn't matter.
You know my habits.
I know what your
where
habits,
it's-
and I
you
know
where
what,
it's
and
gonna
because
go.
I know your habits, so I know what the off is. Like I know how to offset it, and I know how to like reinforce it. There's a lot more finesse that can be done. So I can be super nitpicky about exactly what I'm looking to do because I already have like a general idea of where you're going. And so I was kind of like read minds a little bit.
It's easier.
It's easier.
You can't. I mean, like, I'm not gonna offend you or like cross a boundary with asking you to do something. Like, there's no worry about that, which is nice. Also, like, I think you can see a little bit of maybe what doesn't work in you when you get, because like some habits that I have, you have,
Yeah.
and it's always easier to like register that you have those things when you see them on another person as opposed to like trying to feel it on yourself. And so when I see him rushing something because his brain is going too fast, it's a nice reminder to be like, oh, okay, I do that. I need to remember that when I'm in the scene, I can take more time or I can parse these out a little bit more. So that's interesting. There's a mirror to some degree.
It's such a new experience, but it's so fun, and I think I'm like I'm more caught up in like how fun it is, and knowing that like mom, dad, and like our sister Jennifer is going to come down to see it.
It's a big moment.
And yeah, and they're flying so far, from Michigan, so it's
It's a big moment.
yeah, it's just it's super enjoyable. It's your 10 to 10s. So I get it's going from like one emotion here, and then it's that torque to split to it's the torque to the next thing where it drops to a 10 in the exact opposite direction. And it's the way that your body does, because it doesn't all do it at the same time. Your chest goes first, and then your hips go, and then your knees go, and then your feet go, and it all lands at the same time, but they don't all start at the same time. So it's like this weird, like I'm watching, it's like, and I'm like, that's really fun. Because I feel myself when I do it. I do the whole body at once, like, where you're just like, and I'm like, I want the so I'm not only always doing the cha-cha. When you do anything with the gods, you get into like a weird like football stance sometimes, and it becomes like this, like the chest drops and it's like starts low, and it kind of like there's like a really cinematic like movement you always do, and it comes up and lengthens, so it's like this weird like crunch to a long thing. The contrast is so I need to do that. it's like I need the contrast there, because I'm just like, oh man, the Lord. And you're like, no, crunch, and then we. Okay, I dig that.
Cool.
It's a really weird way of describing all that shit.
I'm at a loss. I kind of don't know what you're talking about, but now I'll think.
That's okay, I know.
I like the way you clown. I like the way that your brain works as far as solving problems. I think that he has instincts as a playwright that I can't access. I think it's very hard for you to look at a scene or a moment or a line or a character and not see the whole purpose of the play, not see the function within, not see the beginning to end and kind of what it does for everything else. And I think that foresight allows you to be smarter quicker. I don't know that that's something I can steal. I think it's something I can practice. But I think that because you write stories, you just have a quicker way of seeing everything. So I really love that about your work. And I love that you are not afraid to be wrong. The way you throw yourself into whatever you're trying at the moment makes me feel like, wow, maybe I need to go back and rethink. Maybe I'm being a little meek, maybe I'm shy, maybe I'm afraid to do some of the things that I really want to do because they're too big or they're too ridiculous or they're overacting or whatever it is. And you are fearless with your, especially at the beginning of rehearsal, I'm seeing now with your throwing yourself into whatever moment you're in, and that's, it's inspiring to see that.
I freaking love it, it's fun. It's so funny. He's so goofy. Yeah, sometimes I'll go out of my way to mess with him in the scene just because it's like, dude, payback time.
Well, you're also, you're poor Tom, you kind of keep
I'm allowed to. Payback time. Not like payback in like a malicious way, but it's like, okay, you've been telling me how to do all this stuff for like so long, now I get the opportunity to actually do it with you. Yeah. And okay, now I get to see how you work from like a different angle. It's just more information. And it's really cool to watch like one of your teachers perform, because then it's kind of like, okay, but can you practice what you preach? Can you actually do it? And then watching him do it, it's like, oh, okay. So a lot of the stuff that I don't understand when you explain it from time to time, I can understand while I'm watching it. Because now I get what all this stuff is now. Okay, cool.
I've been gone for a little bit longer. I've been gone for I think 6 years now, so I think it's a mark of growth. I think for me, coming back and recognizing how far I've come since 2014, since I was a first year. I think it's intimidating to go back and work under or with someone who saw all of your problems, all of your flaws. He spent 2 years working on them, so of course he knows them all. And to go back and like be vulnerable in a way, especially work on a piece that you've done for him in the program, and he's tore apart, and you're like, now I've got to do, but you're not directing this, so it's so you're not in charge, so it's for you. But I also still care what you think about. But coming into the room and feeling not scared was like a big wake-up call for me, because I thought I would be, and it was refreshing to feel that I wasn't. Not a theatrical family.
No. Mom paints, or used to, and she used to play guitar. Way back in the
Our
day.
mother has art as hobbies. Our father was an athlete, so there's I think a part of acting in that.
And there's an artistic sense to being able to build houses and fix cars in that kind of way. I get like the artistic sense of being able to create something with your hands. Yeah. Like being able to change something into something better, or something that's like sustainable and like usable. Like there's that kind of thing. And singing. I mean, Jennifer and Mom sing at the church. But I think that'd be the closest.
When we got involved in the theater, it was like, are you sure? It was like, yeah, I think so.
Sure
okay. I mean, all right. Like, we were supported. That was the great part about it. And they did what they could.
Are you sure you don't want to make money?
Well, they also had no understanding of what the business was like. So, it was, we'll try to help you, but we don't know anyone and we don't know how this business works. So, good luck.
It's believing lies. It's being gullible. Because Posthumus just accepts all these things and then acts on them without having any actual proof. So what it reminds me of is it's this kind of like message where it's like, just because you hear it, just because you read it, your personal truth is not a universal truth. And for me, when it comes to Cymbeline, especially doing like that role for me, that's what it is. The idea that I have all this logic and it gets me to this, and all the logic is sound and it all makes sense. And when we get here, it's like, this is true. It's like, no, that all makes sense. I could even agree with how you got there. And I could agree with the idea, but just because you believe it, or you believe this happened, or whatever, that you believe this person is this way, does not mean that that is the universal, actual big T truth, right?
Cymbeline, I honestly don't know. I think I've been in Cloten. Like right now I want to be like, Cymbeline's about Cloten winning everything. Like that's how I feel. But I know that's not what the play's about, but I'm gonna let myself stay there for a while.
Keep your family close, man.
Get your enemies closer.
No, just keep the family close, because if you don't keep your family close, then your family turns into your enemies, and it's a lot easier to cut you off the knees. Taking advantage of like where you're at, or not being cognizant and not counting your blessings, can kind of like tear a whole family apart, and can kind of tear a whole kingdom apart. So you have like you have to cherish what you have, even if it's not exactly what you were looking for or what you wished. You have to cherish like the people that are there and cherish them for them instead of what you want them to be. Love who they are, not who you expect them to be. That's my second one. Your turn.
Love where they are, yeah. I think King Lear is a big lesson in self-knowledge and self-awareness. That's the closest you can be to wise, I think, is knowing yourself and what danger you pose and what hurt you can do upon those around you when you do not have that ability to be self-aware, at whatever age.
I find Edmund to be more abrasive than Edgar. For one. And between the two of us, you are more abrasive than I am. So like Edgar out of the two is definitely like the calmer one. There's like a more relaxedness to it. And like naturally that's I tend to be more relaxed than he does. And I tend to be quieter and calmer, and not so like out all the time. It's also just like the fascination of that. To me, they both do the same thing. You swear to nature, but so does Edgar. He just does it in a different way. There's a line in there where it's like, Edgar thinks no one will do anybody harm because everyone has like a heart of gold. And like, I don't think that. However, I have been really trying the last like couple years, especially like during like pandemic and like everything that's been happening the last like year and a half, to like soften up and like not be so harsh around the edges and not kind of be so like friction-y. So Edgar, he has like a mentality that I would like to have. So I'm attracted to that. This idea that he is so soft and he would never do harm to anybody, so no one would ever do harm to him or to anybody else. And I like that idea. And I like that kind of gentleness and positivity. Posthumus is different.
Yeah, I think that you're in a place where you just graduated grad school in your life and you're kind of at the crossroads of like, what do I do with my life? How do I start it? As opposed to me, where Edmund is making very much choice to make his life this, and I'm kind of like, starting a family and looking for a house and looking for a foundation. So that's something that's interesting, parallel in both of our lives. Cloten and Posthumus, I don't know, I think that
They're both excess. They're excessive. There's excess. Like,
I think you wanted to tackle those things and I wanted to tackle those things. I think that's enough of a connection between the life and the characters.
Yeah, diving into like how much love that this dude has and like kind of figuring out what that feels like.
3 days of rain. 3 days of rain. 3 days of rain. Comedy of Errors. True West.
True West. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
We just
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
I don't understand.
We're doing the play already.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't, because I'm dealing with the interview. Honestly, I would like to do a Long Day's Journey into night.
Long Day's Journey?
Mm-hmm. I would like to be the younger
All
brother.
My sons. I want to
All
do
my sons would be
with
fun,
you.
yeah. And I would like to be the younger brother for Long Day's Journey. I think we should do Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
I think Guildenstern and Rosencrantz are alive.
Rosencrantz and Guildenkrantz. Rosenstern?
That was too many.
Huh?
That was too many.
Yeah.
We have to double it back, dial it down, pick it up, throw it back.
It's too quick. It's too early for me.